think I can bring it back to, which is what I absolutely hated to hear, but it seemed to work for me, is networking. That, like, really, truly, my wife is an amazing business person, and when I met her, she was like, I don't know anything about your business, but from everything I've learned in business, networking is so important. You must have a network around you. Luckily, we have directors for immediate feedback. I definitely love, and I think I kind of need feedback, to like know if I'm on the right track and, is it working, what I'm choosing to do. I don't know anything about AI. Like it's like enormous, it's like enormous for me to get my head around. And I'm sure there's going to be lots of, helpful tools from it. I think there's certainly helpful things from it. But in terms of like writing something, I don't know that AI could ever created the creeps. That was like channeled from some other magical ether.
Welcome to the Theatre Our Life podcast. Today, we're talking to Catherine Weller.
Catherine Weller is an award-winning actress and creator. Her solo show, The Creeps, has won awards internationally, and her performance has been described as an eerie, unforgettable marvel. She's worked with directors including Eric Stoltz and Janicza Bravo, and her role, Amber, on Hounds premiered in the US on Netflix and garnered the Best Newcomer nomination. Catherine, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Great to be here.
Absolutely. So you were born in New Zealand to American parents. So I'd love to know a little bit about, before we get into your career, about your upbringing and how you got into entertainment in the first place.
Absolutely. Yes, I did. It's my whole family seems to go back and forth from Cincinnati to New Zealand, which is so unique. But I'm very lucky that I am a dual citizen. I was so lucky to be born into that opportunity. Considering, where it's taken me now. How I got into acting was I just started dancing. I did like a talent show when I was like 7 years old with some friends. And my mother said to me after we did that, I think we won or something. I think we came first in the primary school, like the elementary school, right? And she said, "Oh, I put you in dance class because I saw that you really liked it. And I saw that you had a knack for it. So you're going to start dance class, jazz and tap, and there you go." And I was, I think, 9 at the time, and I was thrilled. And so I grew up dancing, doing jazz and tap, and then I just got completely hooked and did dance almost every day of the week after school. Everything except ballet, actually. Even though I love ballet, but it was I don't know, I just never began, and then it got a bit late. But I love to dance and love to perform. And then there's a really interesting thing happened. So in New Zealand, Anna, you might know, as being an Australian, New Zealand is, a smaller pool of people. And so my tap dancing teacher was also an actor, a stunt woman, and a casting director for commercials and things. As you do, right? As you do. And I was 10 at the time, and she called my mum up on a weekend and said, I'm casting this commercial, and some people haven't shown up. And I thought of Catherine. I thought maybe she wants to come in and give it a go. And so I was staying at my friend's house. I was a bit of a tomboy. We were playing like PlayStation video games on a Saturday morning, and mum calls up and says, "Oh, Linda invited you to this thing." And again, I was thrilled. Like, I kind of didn't even really know what it meant, but I remember being so excited for the opportunity. And I went in, and she told me what to say, and I said the lines, and I got the part. And then, so after that, I got an agent, and then I started to book more commercials. And then as I got older, through my teens, I was doing local projects as well as international projects that were filming in New Zealand, and then did high school plays and dance, and continued to do that. And then after high school, went to the National Conservatory in New Zealand.
Were your parents in the industry or part of the industry at all?
Not at all. Nothing. Like nada. we had like a musical family, I suppose. My uncles, I always remember they were really into music. They loved singing together, playing guitar. We enjoyed our time, like together as a family, but nobody was ever making it a career. The
Right.
only person ahead of me actually was I'm the youngest of three girls. My middle sister also was on the journey. So she's 6 years ahead of me. And she went to the National Conservatory. And then because of the work that I saw them doing through her, I was like, oh, this is a great place to be. So I'd like to apply. So nobody else except her and I, really.
It's great that your parents were able to pinpoint it from the beginning, or your mom in this case, what you really like and what your talents were, and develop those skills.
Yeah, very grateful for my mom for many, many reasons, including that.
So, how do you get from doing commercials to your show, The Crips?
Yes. I'll see if I can give you the Cliff Note version. But so I really thought, after going to training at conservatory, which was some of the best years of my life, I really thought I was only going to do screen and film. I thought I was happy to do that. That's where I had a lot of my previous education, and really have always, and I still do have this dream of being at the level of the likes of Cate Blanchett, Jessica Chastain, Meryl Streep, the greatest of the greats, right? The greatest in our community and society, and telling stories on that level and having that kind of platform so that the work is seen, so that, because artists want to inspire, we want to reflect society. And so that was always my ambition. So when I was going to drama school, we did a lot of theatre, which I absolutely fell in love with. And we were lucky enough to train in a lot of physical theatre and movement and clown and mask work. And it was just a thrill. And considering my dance background, I'm a very physical person. So it wasn't anything I expected, but I happened to open this other kind of side of me where it just felt right. It felt natural. And then I graduated school and thought, well, cool, that's that. I'm going to go be on screen now. And I got some jobs, but I really thought it was going to be a little easier than it happened to be, because I moved. I did Hounds, what you mentioned in my bio, and then I moved to Los Angeles, considering I'm a citizen. So I was very lucky. It was easier for me to do that. And I went to move to Los Angeles, truly with the ambition and naivety of a 21-year-old, thinking, well, Hollywood's just going to find me, and that'll be that. And that's not what happened. But that's okay. Life had a different journey for me, and I was in class, I was auditioning here and there, building a life, right? Like kind of figuring out how to live in my early 20s away from home. And then a few years later, had this opportunity to be an artist in resident at a little black box theater right on Hollywood, in Hollywood Row. And I didn't mention that at school, our third year project was we all had to devise a 20-minute solo piece. And The Creeps really was born then. And then didn't think anything of it. And then 4 years later, I was kind of organically devising The Creeps 2.0 in this little theater by myself in the dark, three mornings a week. So that's the genesis, really.
It's so fascinating. I want to ask about The Creeps, but just to rewind, it's interesting to me because your trip to Los Angeles is probably what thousands of aspiring actors want and do, right? And yet only a few still, I mean, yes, maybe you're not the Meryl Streep yet, but you're making a career in the arts. So what do you think sets anybody apart when they come to Los Angeles in terms of not making it versus making it? Is there some advice you would give people?
Oh, wow. What a great question. I mean, I wish I could give I'll give my thoughtful answer. Like I feel like if anything, this is just from my own opinion, but it's only been until recently that I started, like, there were many, many years where I was asking the question, like, how do I break in? How do I break into LA, the film industry, coming to New York? How, like where do you go to break in, right, to the people that are making the decisions, that are making the work, that are building those relationships? And it's only really since this year, having produced now the Creeps off Broadway, the past year was my big lesson in that. And so I think I can bring it back to, which is what I absolutely hated to hear, but it seemed to work for me, is networking. That, like, really, truly, my wife is an amazing business person. And when I met her, she was like, I don't know anything about your business, but from everything I've learned in business, networking is so important. You must have a network around you, right? And so I kind of kicked and screamed for a while, but then I started to get in the practice of just going out there and feeling a little bit awkward and uncomfortable. However, I knew that I had the Creeps. I write and produce a lot of other projects, even if they were on the indie kind of level. But I knew I could stand on the laurels of those projects. It wasn't necessarily about, like, hey, I'm the product, like me. It was like, I am the product, and I also have created these products, So that was always my resistance. It's like, I feel so awkward kind of coming and, I don't know, trying to be liked, and, and I think I was going about it really the wrong way. And it really is about creating a connection with people, creating a relatedness with a human being. And maybe you don't get, I don't know, a producer from that meeting, but maybe you meet someone who knows someone, or maybe when you do get your thing produced, you can invite that person. I just really started to learn in a whole new way the power of that, and continue to. So.
I mean, we don't get trained on how to sell ourselves, do we, really? And that's, I mean, Anna and I come from the backstage background, but it's still equally important to be able to advocate and get work. And in that, there's a certain sales pitch about that, right? If people have got to take a leap of faith with you, you were going to say something, yeah. Anna.
Well, more or less on the same lines. Like, I think today I've wanted to ask the same question as you did twice, so that's funny.
Yeah.
But I was thinking the same, because, like, it's also not the, hey, I'm at a business meeting and it's awkward, hello, I want to meet everyone, like, it's not like, it's, I don't know, it's fine-tuning that interaction of, oh, I'm going to go to LDI, or I'm going to go to whatever fair is happening and introduce you to people, and sometimes that works, but it's, I don't know, how would you define networking? Because there's a little bit of getting out there, but there's a lot of what you just said of this human interaction and how to build that relationship, like a real relationship with the person.
Absolutely. And, you just brought something up in my mind as well that I can get in my head, like, as we all do, right? We have human brains that get a little nervous or anxious or whatever that might be, and that's certainly like the first thing that will seem very real to me, that feels like it will stop me in producing something and accomplishing something or whatever. And I've when I recontextualized it, that I started to discover, oh, I can actually establish a relationship with this person, find out about them, and share about me, and there wasn't really a reason for it until there was, right? Like, until there was, like, hey, I have a theater, I'm going to produce a show, and here's what I'm looking for. It's really similarly the same when I go on stage now, because there's immediate fear of, like, are the people going to like it? Are people going to connect to it? Am I going to do well? Like, are people going to get it? Like, it's a unique show, and we will talk about it. But I recontextualize it now, where I say to myself before every performance, I'm here to provide value for everybody that is here. and I'm here to share humanity. And I just do that every time. And then it takes the pressure, it takes any kind of worry, like it kind of resets my intention for what I'm actually about to do.
Mm. It's really interesting you say that, because there is an added layer that artists and creators have in that networking and in that production process is, if I can stage manage a show, I can stage manage a show, but you're actually putting your artistic out there, and that your artistry out there, and that's so subjective, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's so vulnerable to be in a place where not only do we have to get along and you have to believe in my product and you have to help me invest into it and help me make it happen, but I have to show you that it's good and you have to like it. And that's just so many factors to win, right? It's kind of intimidating.
Absolutely. And like I said, I was lucky enough to have done the show enough over the past few years. Again, really, truly not thinking anything of it. I did not think that it was this show that was going to, be on this platform now. I'm thrilled that it is, because it is my artistry. It's kind of like, I feel utterly grateful that it's this project, that is here. When I thought for many years, like, God, I wish a producer would just fund my work, or like, I wish I would just, get that role and make it, and no, it happens to be this very unique piece that impacts a lot of people. And it's because of the times that I had performed it at little fringe festivals, or toured it, or just like independently produced it. And with, it's, luckily the show is a solo without much set, like intentionally. So it is cheap to produce. I was able to do it, at fringe festivals, etc. And it was the feedback that I was getting from the audience that they did connect to it, like that they did feel all these special ways that I didn't even really expect people were going to feel. It was almost like the audience started to kind of tell me like the impact of the show, and the same with the reviews I received or awards I received. I was again able to stand on those laurels and say, okay, I can stand by that. I can make a good product. And it's totally still scary, but it was luckily due to the years of development, or like the years of feedback, that I was able to, present it in this next phase.
For you, I see it's very important, this connection, right? This human connection and what you're bringing to the table. And it's something you've been developing both in, like, seems like more the stage career, but also everything that pertains to your professional career. So how does that come when you're working for the screen and you don't necessarily get that feedback from the audience? How do you approach a role in the same but different way?
Oh, what a great question. Luckily, we have directors for immediate feedback. I definitely love, and I think I kind of need feedback, to like know if I'm on the right track, and is it working? What I'm choosing to do. Yes, and luckily, directors are the people that can right away tell you what it is that they want more of or need. On the flip side of that, when you're auditioning for things and you don't necessarily get the feedback, that can be, at least for me, has been a bit more of a challenge to, I don't know, to let it go in a way, or like, or at least personally be able to like learn something, like, okay, maybe I didn't hear anything back. Maybe I didn't get the part. But I think I was really, I really learned something of the tape that I sent in. Like, oh, I think I'm getting better, incrementally at doing these auditions even, like it's really reps, like doing it in reps. And for me, just like, okay, what can I learn from this thing? Or what can I put in next time that can elevate the performance? Because otherwise I think, yeah, I can totally get in my head and get a little, not able to let it go. I know that about myself. So it's good to, Yeah, it's been a very interesting journey of, like, relax, Catherine. Like, like, it's okay, relax. Yeah.
I like the idea of reps. I think, for anybody to master something, there has to be a repetition of it over and over and over again, right? Whatever that practice is. Can you tell us about Creep? Because we've been talking around the show itself, but tell us what it is about and why you think it resonates with audiences. And now a note from our sponsor. The Theatre Art Live podcast is proud to be sponsored by ClearCom. ClearCom is the leader in voice communications for theatre and the performing arts. Call your cues with the simplicity and elegance of ClearCom Intercom Solutions. You can find them at ClearCom.com. Go check them out.
Yes, so The Creeps is an interactive, dark, psychological solo show in which I play all the characters, but I'm only in a leotard costume with my hair pulled back. So you meet all these characters, you're immersed in this world, which is kind of like it's a little bit of ambiguous cabaret. So the audience comes into this space. They come into what they then find out is like as if they've gone to a club, but right at the beginning they've made a wrong turn and they're now in the basement of this place. And it's reflective of, you hear, I don't know, in nightlife or kind of more adult spaces, like, hey, if you just like go a little further in, or you might pay a little extra, hey, you might get a little more, right? So it's kind of this, a little bit of this ambiguous, mysterious place. So that's where the audience comes into. And then they meet these characters that they find out through interaction with the audience. So it's semi-improvised and it's never the same show twice, who these creeps are. And they are essentially they speak to pieces of society, pieces of our own humanity that are probably the darker of sorts, the things that often we don't necessarily want to engage with or necessarily want to look at. However, it's through them, through the narrative of the story, that the audience starts to, their judgments, their immediate judgments of whoever they're meeting start to dissipate, and they find out about some tragic things, some manipulative things. There's like a villain who kind of runs the whole piece, and there's certain comedic elements because it's a little crazy, it's a little like kooky, right? But that's really what happens is the audience is essentially left with this. I don't know. I call it like a Trojan horse, right? Like a Trojan horse into being incredibly impacted by their own humanity and the darkness and the likeness within us all.
Oh, that sounds, I want to come.
Yeah, I want you to come.
What do you think, Anna?
You guys should come. You got 5 weeks.
You should have us over, definitely.
Yeah. How long is it running for off Broadway?
Until November 5th.
November 5th. Oh, okay. Well, I don't know if I can get to New York before November 5th, but yeah. But you do it. You've done it in festivals and other repetitions. And how is it sort of? You said that it's kind of evolved, and if you did it way back when you were in New Zealand, how has it evolved throughout that period of time?
Yeah, massively. I mean, the core of the show, the magic of the show, I like to say, which is that it's based in this kind of transformational experience where I will, like, intentionally, there's hardly any, I'm not like changing costume, right? Like intentionally it's about me kind of immersing you in front of, your eyes, right? Or my eyes, however you put that. Like I will transform in front of your eyes. And then the interactive element, because it makes it so alive. Like it's like whatever is thrown at me, we will take it and we will wrap it in the story, and it's a blast.
That's crazy because
it's so crazy. Like it's so crazy. I don't know that I've ever been so good at improv except when I'm in character. Like it's like so weird. Like I don't think Catherine's as good as improv as my characters are, but it's really fun. It's really fun. And so those two things have always been like the same, right? And that it you know, it speaks to some dark material, right? So, and yet there's all this kind of dark comedy that comes out of it, right? And the kind of like, it's someone called it like pathos, you know, like in the darkness there's a little bit of light still. And so those things have always been the same. The way that it's developed is its story has evolved over time, depending on what's happening in society. Like the main themes of the show this time, the characters have always been the same, essentially. The main themes this time has been one of the villain character, who's also the MC, who's like very manipulative and someone that the audience really enjoy, but soon start to feel very creeped out by. And that's the whole game of him, which is very fun to act that way. It's revealed why he might have this nihilistic, why he's the villain, essentially, like what has had him create this environment, you know. And to me, that was reflective of what I kind of see in Manhattan, like and where we see it all over the world, don't we? Like the real large, I don't want to call it, like, I don't want to diminish it, but the have and have nots in a way. Like I live in Hell's Kitchen in New York, and I walk past people that live on the streets. I walk past people at Port Authority who are mentally unwell, possibly addicts. Port Authority is a place where sex trafficking happens. You know, there's all these things that we live next to all the time that are, you know, hard to talk about and hard to find out like how to impact and how to really change. And I don't pretend to like have the answer with my show, but it's like, it's just reflective of that, you know, like the audience is really confronted by the humanity of that whole idea. And so that has been really present this time, as well as Playhouse 46 is a theater in the round, and the show has always been proscenium. So it's always been like me on stage and then the audience in front of me. And this time it creates this whole other immersive experience, and it's a totally different experience depending on where people are sitting. So if they come back and they sit in a different spot, they're going to have a, you know, totally different interaction, which is really fun. It's very meta.
Yeah.
I wonder if you ever want to be on the audience side, like you like this feedback so much, and I find like you're very analytical for what you're saying. I might be wrong. I don't know.
I would love to tell my wife that, because I think she would be like, I don't think I'm analytical. I feel like I think a lot about things. But that's a great compliment. I'm gonna take that up.
But yeah, have you ever tried to? I don't know. I'm sure recording is not the same. So have you ever wondered how is it to be on the other side?
Absolutely. I think when there is the time that another actor gets to do this show, which I'm very excited about, finding, you know, another actor or having the play published and you know, available in schools and for acting students, whoever wants to take this on, because it will stretch people. The characters are vastly different, and it's very athletic, a very, very physical show. And I geek out over actors. Like I love casting actors, and I love watching actors work. I think they're amazing and courageous and lovely hearts, you know. And so I'm thrilled for the time that I get to experience somebody else, or even direct the person, you know, like to really have them connect to what's necessary to perform this show, because it's like I said, it's still physically demanding.
Is there, you said that, you know, get the script into schools and stuff, is there, you said there's so much improvisation. Is there an anchor script, or like how does that work? Is it just a baseline of how that works and directions, or there is dialogue that you've got to learn?
Yes, there is dialogue you have to learn. So there is a script, and in the script, I will say, here you will essentially ask a question. Like, part of the script is you'll say this, and often you'll get one of two answers back, and then you kind of go from there. But even then, some audiences will just like shout out things at times where I haven't intended for a piece of improvisation, and that's fine. We roll with it. So yeah, the script is very much like has everything in it. Every piece of information necessary to tell the story will be there, and then it will often be like in italics, like, you could say this, or the audience might say this, or the audience might say this, or you have to improvise this, or you have to find a male in the audience and say this. You have to find a female, because it's also very gendered intentionally because of the character who's manipulative, right? And so there's very intentional direction in the script. Yeah.
That's super cool. I want to ask, given we're talking about writing, what are your thoughts on the writer's strike in Hollywood recently, and all of what they're asking for versus the onset of AI and what that might bring into the industry?
Yes, I definitely am on the side of the WGA and SAG-AFTRA. I have definitely been, as an actor, gotten jobs, small jobs here and there, and known that I was not going to expect a big paycheck. It was like going to be like a nice little credit for me, and that could support me in the future, but it wasn't going to be a substantial salary. So I'm really in support of them. And in terms of the writer's strike, I don't know anything about AI. Like it's like enormous, it's like enormous for me to get my head around. And I'm sure there's going to be lots of, helpful tools from it. I think there's certainly helpful things from it. But in terms of like writing something, I don't know that AI could ever created the creeps. That was like channeled from some other magical ether space, and like a human had to do that, and I think that's the same with creativity is a great gift, whatever people are creative in, and it doesn't even have to be storytelling. There's so much creativity that people can tap into, and I think they should just give people jobs like to make things. Like that's, like that's what people give their lives to. At least for me, this is my whole life. There's nothing else I want to do, and I have the ability to do it. Like, people should just offer jobs to those people. It's not hard. There's plenty of people that have a real gift and to tell stories, which is what the business is. Like, you don't need a robot or a computer generated program to do that for you. You have plenty of people that are able to do it with a human heart connection.
I like that.
I think that's what we all do as humans, right? We tell stories. Historically, that's how we've passed knowledge on, stories on everything, storytelling.
Indeed. Yeah. And it's, it's not for, I think stories, I don't know about change minds. I think they can, but at least they open a perspective. They tell a story of something that, maybe somebody has never heard of, experienced, haven't been able to fathom what something might have been like until it's reflected, back at them.
Yeah, I'm really divided about it, because I think that there's certain things that can be an asset to the industry because of AI. But when they talk about actors, if they've got them on screen, and then the movie studios can then use their likeness as background actors in the future. Like, that's just not okay.
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
And what I think is the last sort of bastion of live entertainment is, like you say with the creeps, it's written with the intention of it being in front of an audiences and the nuances that comes with that. And it's such a leap to think that a bot or an AI thing could think about how an audience is going to react to a collection of words that it's writing, right? Like, I just think that there's such a collaborative art nature of live theatre that's going to be very, I'm not saying, because I would never say never about things, that these can be replaced, but I think that's one of the corners that is very difficult to replicate in a virtual world, like, because it's so human and it's so
Yes.
collaborative, you know, not just you, but, you know, the audience relationship. If it's a bigger show, the way the designers might come together and collaborate about the lighting and the set and the stage and all of those things, that's visceral human things that can't be written down, right? So I think we're safe for now.
Yeah. For now.
So we always finish up with the same question. So we're going to ask them for you now. What's your most favorite thing about your job or the industry, Catherine?
Oh my gosh. Oh my God. Let's see if I can give you one answer. Okay. Let's see. Oh man. Okay. The thing I love. Okay. I'm gonna just like say one thing, because I feel like I love so many things about it. One thing is I love the act of immersing myself in a story and telling it with my instrument, which is my body and voice and mind, you know. And what I love about it is I love getting in the nitty-gritty of a human, you know, and their past and their psychology and the genre in which we're telling it, you know, and the medium in which we're telling it and the people in which I'm telling it with. Like, I love it. It's kind of like, for me, like, it feels like chewing on a yummy steak or something. Like, you know, it's like gritty, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta get in there and you gotta do the yummy work. And so I think if I had to choose one.
I love that answer.
And she doubts she's analytical, but okay. So if you could change something about either your job or the industry as a whole, what would you change?
I mean, I should be careful what I wish for, because maybe then it wouldn't make the industry what it is, or at least my journey what it was. But I guess I know that for me, and I think it happens for actors too. Like, there can be so much just frustration and resignation, you know, like it takes such courage to go out there in life, whatever you're committed to, whatever it is you want in life, and give yourself to it with no clear path, you know, with no real say, you know what I mean? Like, the thing of like, how do you get in? Like, if you're really, really outside of that circle, like, it can feel so daunting, you know, and like that, I like feedback, you know what I mean? It's like, you're kind of like, sometimes, I don't know, shooting in the wind, you're just like hoping, and it really takes something to keep on carving out your path in the face of that. So I don't know, I wonder if the easy thing, maybe if we could change anything, is to make it more accessible somehow, or like, I wish there was an easier answer. I don't know if that would completely alter the industry and you know, and people achieving their dreams. But I don't know, like, you know what I mean? Like, I wonder what that would do. But yeah, or maybe I could just answer it like, I wish there was a way that that people that maybe feel a little bit more doubtful and resigned and have had challenges, that they find it in themselves to understand that's normal, and and to find the strength to keep going and keep living authentically. Because for me, that would have been the thing I would never have been able to swallow for myself. I think is like if I ever allowed the really challenging times to stop me, I would have felt that I was lying to myself.
Yeah. That's such an interesting answer, because I think also, right, like if it hadn't been such a hard path, would you have the appreciation of where you are once you got there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of a catch-22. But like you said, for a lot of people who are very talented, who give up that one gig too early before they made it, right? And you just never know if they would have crossed the line. And at some point you've got to ask yourself, because some people don't even become successful like until well into their 40s or 50s, you know, and he's like, am I going to spend 30 years trying to make it, right? Like that's dedication to try and get to that point and still have that desire to succeed. So, it's a great answer.
I guess it's a fine line between tenacity and perseverance, and then discrimination, and like who do we let in the group, as you were saying. And I don't know, for another podcast, I guess.
It's not always but it's true, it's not always an even playing field, and a lot of people have a harder and higher climb to get there than others, and that's like you said, that's a whole other podcast.
That's a whole other podcast.
Speaking of whole other podcasts, if you could nominate another podcast guest for us, who in your network, who is interesting that you think we should talk to?
Ooh. Okay, I have a range of you're international, right? You could speak to anybody.
We'd love to speak to somebody in New Zealand.
Yes. Well, I have one of my best friends, Kate McGill. She's amazing. She's a writer, a director. She's an actor. She was there at the beginning of the Creeps in Los Angeles. She married my wife and I. She's an officiant.
Super.
She's amazing. She's a director of like a lot of local television down there, and she's making her own short film that she wrote years ago, and it was just kind of, she never felt like it was time, spiritually, I think, or creatively to make it, and now she is.
Well, we will get her contact off you. I think that would be amazing. Thank you so much, Catherine. It's been such a joy to talk to you today and get an insight into your life and the Creeps and everything. And we wish you luck for the rest of your run till November.
Thank you so much. It's been a blast. I really appreciate the time.
Thank you.